Attention Austin guitarist, are you in need of setup or repair on your axe? Well, I have the guy for you. That's my friend Jason Swedberg over at J. Scott Lutherie. You can find him at J. Scott Lutherie on Facebook. Gang, I've been taking my guitars to Jason for over 20 years, and not only does he do the very best job, but he has the fastest service and the best prices in town. Find him at J. Scott Lutherie on Facebook or jason.swedberg@gmail.com. Gang, whether it's acoustic or electric, Jason is your guy. Get your guitars fixed.
And you may ask yourself, well, how did I get here?
It's time for How Did I Get Here? And now here are your hosts,
All right, hello, I'm Johnny, I'm your host. Welcome to the show. I hope you had a great weekend. I hope you're easing into the new year. Hope you're not freaking out too bad. It's crazy stuff going on with this pandemic. I got to tell you, it freaks me out. I hide out in my house. I get freaked out about seeing people. I've been meeting up with people, but I still get nervous, and I'm like, where has that person been? And I kind of want to ask them, but then it sounds weird. You know what I mean? Like you feel weird being like, hey, have you been around someone that might have been around someone else that might have been around someone that might have the thing? Huh? What's going on there, buddy? Like, you're a little nervous. You are. You get a little nervous. You're talking to someone, you're like, oh, hey, man, yeah, I'll come over in a little bit, and we can I'm working on video with my friend Gabe for a song that we did. Hopefully it'll be coming out soon. But, you know, before I went over there, he's like, oh, yeah, I had dinner with a friend of mine a couple nights ago. I'm like, well, what friend was that? You know what I mean? Like, anyway, trying to balance having a life and living in fear and being, staying safe and healthy and not spreading this crazy fucking virus everywhere. Crazy times. Guys, I have a great big show for you guys today. Kind of a doubleheader. I've got Christopher Mendes returning to the show. Fantastic drummer. He has turned into a guy that is doing YouTube reviews. You can find him at Mendiesel 101. That's his YouTube channel. He's doing lessons and exercises that you can download and stuff. You can buy them. He's also branched out into some clothing. Mendiesel Wear, he's doing that. You can find it at mendieselwear.com. Also, he's been recording drums remotely. But before we talk to the great Christopher Mendes, once again, let's talk to my dear old friend, Jason Swedberg from J. Scott Lutherie. You hear me advertise his stuff all the time. You heard me talk about the guitar that he made and gave me. So I guess I'm endorsed by J. Scott Lutherie, which is very exciting. He gave me a beautiful guitar, the first SG Junior that he made. It's J. Scott Lutherie SG Junior 001, the first one. It's got a Bigsby on it. It's fucking killer. I'll post a picture of it on our Facebook page for you to look at. Don't forget to like our How Did I Get Here Facebook page. Anyway, I have a quick chat with Jason about guitars, how he got interested in fixing guitars, and also what got him into building guitars and how you can get one built for yourself if you want one. This guitar is fantastic. I stand by it. Okay? So before we talk to the great Christopher Mendes, let's talk to my dear old friend for 40 plus years, Jason Swedberg from J. Scott Lutherie. Let's get down. Yeah.
All right.
Happy New Year, my friend.
What's up? Happy New Year to you, brother. From another mother.
Brother from another mother. Jason, we've known each other a long time. Let's let the people know. Jason and I lived in the Woodlands and met like in 1979, 1980.
Something like that.
We played soccer together. We were in history and science classes together up until I moved away in high school. And we've remained great friends. Jason, your love of guitars took you to start working on guitars. And how did that, what spawned that?
That's a good question. So I've always loved guitars. I started playing when I was 10 and kind of took some time off and then started dating this girl when I was about 18, and she was learning how to play and kind of got the love of guitars again and went and picked one up, and just from that moment on, I was hooked. I moved to Austin 25 years ago to be around the music scene and, to hang out with you, obviously. And when I got here, I was kind of in this holding pattern of what I was kind of going to do with my life after my lease expired. And one day I picked up the phone book and started looking up guitar stuff and came across Collings Guitars, who is a acoustic guitar builder out in Dripping Springs. And so I looked him up and was like, oh, wow, these guys are great. I mean, these are like amazing instruments. And on a whim, I just called them up and said, hey, I'm interested in learning the trade. Do you do shop tours? Do you have any jobs available? And they did. So the day after I called, set up an appointment and drove out there and met with Steve McCrary and met Bill Collings. And we talked about what kind of experience I had with woodworking and finish stuff. And then they said, we've got this job up in the finish department. That's where you would start. If you're interested, we can talk about it. So a couple weeks go by, and I was on the verge of moving back to Houston, and then ended up getting a phone call. And, long story short, I started working at Collings and worked out there for 5 years, learned the trade, mainly worked in the finish department, did some other things, but I was around all those guys on a daily basis and was able to watch, the true craftsmen that had been doing it for a while, and kind of learned more about how the mechanics of a guitar are built. So I was always interested in the mechanics of it. I'm a tinkerer. I always wanted to know why some guitars sounded better than others, why one type of wood sounded better than the other, why some pickups sounded, so it was a great learning experience, and, basically going to school of how to build a guitar. So when I left there, it just got in my blood, and I've never stopped. I've got a home shop here in South Austin, and it's always been kind of a side gig because I have a day job, but it seems to be becoming more busy, especially during the pandemic times. So that's how I got started in it, and I don't see it stopping anytime soon.
No, and you've always done great work in the repair and setup stuff, and I remember when I was living in your trailer when my place was being redone a couple years ago now. Didn't you build a Telecaster?
I've built many Telecasters, but
right.
The one that you're talking about when you lived here was that surf green one,
Right.
That you almost walked away with. But I built that one. Built that one basically from scratch. A lot of times I will buy kits. It's easier to get a kit that's already been cut, and then I can source out really amazing parts and then kind of stare at it and see what it is that I want to do to it. But I do actually will cut the bodies and the necks every now and then when I have the time. But currently I'm buying kits from this supplier in Canada called Precision Guitars, and they're amazing. I mean, they're pretty much the best kits on the market. So why cut them myself when I can have somebody do it for me? You know what I mean?
That's true.
But
man.
Yeah. So currently I've just been building. I'm a big Neil Young fan, as you know, and I kind of came up with this idea last year where I was like, maybe I'll build one of, like a version of Neil's Old Black, his Les Paul that he has. But then I was like, I don't really want to just copy that. I want to do something unique. So I came up with this idea of building a version of his guitar and calling it Little Black, but not a Les Paul, just something different. So the first one I built is a Les Paul Jr., and which went to Will Courtney, a good friend of mine, and made it look like Neil's, black over gold, P90, silver hardware and stuff like that, but not like a true Les Paul, just like a Les Paul Jr. So that was the first one I built. And the second one I built was an SG Jr., same kind of concept, black over gold, silver hardware, which you now have.
Yes. Thank you so much for this guitar. I talked about it in the last episode, and I love this guitar, man. It reminds me of I had that Les Paul Jr. or the SG Jr. back in in the Gaudi era of my thing. And it's nice to have it back. Can I tell you some of the pluses that I've noticed while I've had it here at the house?
Yeah, baby. Tell me.
This body is a little heavier than the last one. Remember the other day we were having that Firebird conversation where the neck droops?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, yeah. The SG did that too. Mine did. And that body was so light, it felt like I could break it. You know what I mean? And this one is a lot thicker and heavier and stays in place.
Right. Yeah, and SG Juniors will do that. They don't have as much of a drop as just a normal SG, but I know exactly what you're talking about. That was what I loved about it when I finished it, because I love SGs, but I'm not, a big, huge SG guy because of that neck drop thing. And so once I finished the Junior, it was like, oh wow, this is great because it doesn't actually drop. You're not, struggling with where you're trying to position it on your body.
Right.
When you're playing, and it's very comfortable. So, and the hardware in that thing is great. Like, it's a really awesome pickup, boutique builder out of California called Tyson Tone.
Yeah, let's talk about that. Is it a hand-built pickup?
Yeah, he's a guy out in LA, and I was reading about his, pickup builds, and, a lot of really cool guitar players use them. Marcus King, the guy from Blackberry Smoke, can't remember what his name is, but they're really solid, hand-wound, amazing P90s, and so I thought I'd give it a shot.
Sounds great.
It's incredible. I mean, it's incredible. It's definitely one of the best pickups I've ever heard in my life. And currently I'm planning another build of, the same kind of thing. And I think I'm going to do a Firebird, and I'd call it Little Bird, but same concept, black over gold, but, I'm obviously going to get a Tyson Tone pickup in it. This will be a double pickup, so it'll be a Tyson Tone P90, and then the bridge pickup will probably be like a Duncan Firebird pickup or something like that. But yeah, they're solid. They're solid pickups. I'd highly recommend them.
Jason, if people want to get a hold of you to get repair done, or say they have a dream guitar idea, they can find you at J. Scott Lutherie on Instagram, send you a message there, or at jason.swedberg@gmail.com. Jason.swedberg@gmail.
Absolutely. Yeah, those are the two places that you can find me. I'm not on Facebook at the moment, and
what happened
my
there, man?
website.
What happened?
I decided to take a break. Just wanted to take a break. Felt like I was getting assaulted on a daily basis, so I wanted to take a break from it. But I will be back at some point. But right now, how you can get a hold of me is Instagram or my email. I don't have a website. I did, but so Instagram and email is best.
Yeah, and on your Instagram, they can see all the guitars you work on. I mean, you work on guitars for all kinds of people, cool people, great people.
Absolutely, yeah. I've got a constant flow of repair work coming in. I've currently staring at one pile of stuff, and I've got another pile of stuff in my office, and trying to figure out which one I'm going to work on now. But yeah, no, I've worked on many guitars for the Austin music community. I've worked on guitars from people out of state. They send me things. I've even worked on guitars. When I worked at Collings, I helped build a guitar for Keith Richards, and my name is actually signed on the inside of it.
No way.
One of my,
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. We built a few for Keith, and the last one we built, we all signed our name on the underside of the top.
Wow. So I still need to get my number on here, but my number is J. Scott Lutherie, SG Junior 001.
Exactly. Yep. I still need to get that put on the back of the headstock. I didn't get a chance to do that the other day, but bring it over and I will get it on there.
I'll do it, man. I really appreciate this guitar. I can't even begin to tell you. I've been writing some rock songs. I'm going over to Gabe Rhodes in a little while to exchange some ideas, but I'm taking it with me because I want to use it as the inspiration for the songs. Like, I want to write songs that I want to play on that guitar.
Awesome.
Is that dorky?
No, of course not. Not at all, dude. No, when I built it, I loved it so much and thought, okay, well, I'm just going to keep this one and for myself and then just build another one. But then when you came over a couple weeks ago and you like picked it up and like freaked out, I was like, oh yeah, that's your guitar.
Yeah, man.
Like,
and it feels great. You know
yours.
whatever you did, I mean, I don't know if the neck came like this, but the neck feels really good. And yeah, I mean, it feels so good. It sounds so good. It responds real good. It's amazing with my Ibanez FC7 fuzz pedal.
Oh yeah. Well, that neck is a one piece, solid mahogany neck. And so the sustain that you get on a one piece neck, you know, coming all the way through it is pretty intense. I mean, yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. I mean, it's a nice piece of wood. And so I'm sure you're, you know, fuzzing it out there over there at a JG headquarters.
Yeah. That's what I'm going to start calling this place, JG headquarters. Also, that last sentence you said was a total that's what she said. With the,
Yeah, totally.
with the wood and the fuzz and everything.
Yep.
Jason, dude, I love you so much. People can find you at J. Scott Lutherie on Facebook, jason.swedberg@gmail.com. I'll put links to that in the body of this podcast. I can't thank you enough. I love this guitar. I love being friends with you. Happy New Year. And
Happy New Year to you.
Yeah, people should take you their stuff. You fix acoustics,
Absolutely.
electrics, basses. You ever work on a ukulele, Jason?
I have. I work on everything. I work on anything stringed. I've got 2 fiddles right now. I got a set up too. So anything stringed, it's full service shop. Although refretting right now is kind of not happening because my jig broke, but I need to get another one. But other than that, I do neck resets, bass, acoustic, electric, fiddles, mandolins, ukes.
You do great work. You did a complete refurb on my Telecaster, my guitar I've had for 25 years.
Yeah, that's a sweet telly.
That's a sweet telly, and you made it even sweeter. It's a singing. It sounds so good and feels so good. I remember after we did that thing, I had this gig, and I think I took the gig just because it was a guitar gig, and I was going to get to play it a lot. So, yeah, man, thank you for all your great work. My bass sounds great. My acoustics sound great. You got me my J45. Yeah, you're all around. You're like my guitar guru, Jason.
I am.
And I thank
am
you.
Your personal luthier.
Personal J. Scott Lutherie. Get into it, dude. I love you. Happy New Year, and we'll talk again soon.
All right, love you too, man.
My dear old friend Jason Swedberg, J. Scott Lutherie, man. Check out his guitars. Check out his work. If you need work done on your guitar, find him at J. Scott Lutherie on Instagram or at jason.swedberg@gmail.com. I love that guy, and I love this fucking guitar, man. You're going to be hearing some jams from this thing. Hopefully better than that. All right, gang. Next up, Brian Christopher Mendes returns to the show. Now, Brian Christopher Mendes is a drummer. He's taken all kinds of different paths in life. This is his second time on the show, okay? But now he has got Mendiesel 101, which is his YouTube channel, where he is doing like YouTube reviews. He's got lessons and exercises, downloadable lessons available to the people. He's also gotten into some clothing accessories and stuff. He has Mendiesel Wear. He has some cool-ass hats. You can find it at mendieselwear.com. You can find Brian at brianchristophermendes.com. Fantastic dude. He's also, I mean, he's still drumming, just no one can really work. He's doing remote recording. If you need some drums laid down on your record or your tune or your demo or whatever, send it to Brian, brianchristophermendes.com. Great conversation. I love Brian. I lament the fact that we weren't able to get face-to-face because last time when we talked, it was a great conversation as well, but it was great to be in his presence. Zoom doesn't quite fill that void, but it was still great talking to Brian. He's a very enthusiastic guy. He's got a lot of energy. He's got a lot to say. We have a great conversation. So please, without further ado, enjoy my conversation with the great Brian Christopher Mendes. Let's get down. Sorry.
Yeah, as far as remote tracks, it comes and goes, man. Like it literally will be, feast or famine. So it hasn't been steady at all.
Yeah.
It's been very interesting this time. This whole process, this whole year, as for all of us.
Yeah. Across the board, man. But in music world, in our world, it's just been completely insane because there's like one place where we have learned over the last 15 years that we can make money, and that's getting a room full of people together to give you money to play, and that's gone. And so that's kind of the main resource of all of our money to make records and do everything.
If you're a musician, you have been completely hamstringed by this entire situation. I do know of some top-notch guys that were, because of their name, they still get work, studio work. So that's been, I guess, a blessing for some of those people. But for the regular Joes that just had that we work the trenches, that don't have like a super huge name, it's been a little bit tougher,
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. So what have you been playing on? You
mean
like you've been doing some videos and stuff like that? Are you focusing on that on the lessons and stuff?
My main focus has been the YouTube reviews. And I was doing that. I started that before actually the pandemic started. So last year, I had an unfortunate situation, or fortunate, however you want to look at it, that it made me rethink how I want to make my money, as a musician. And October, I decided I am going to start doing YouTube reviews and that type of thing. And my wife and I, we were renting a house, so I was kind of limited in the videos as far as the appearance and all of that. And then that December we bought, and I immediately built this out. And
it looks real
cool. Oh, thank you. It sounds great in here. I can get great recordings. And what happened I think probably 2 weeks after I finished the room out, the pandemic hit. And I actually didn't freak out. I said, okay, we have money in the bank, fortunately, and I have a ton of projects that I need to film. So I just went knee deep into recording, or filming, I should say, filming. And then I then realized I can also do remote tracking too, which is something that I really didn't think about until the pandemic.
Right.
But so that's been my main focus is video, and as a matter of fact, I just got an SBA loan that EIDL loan.
Yeah.
And
I've learned a lot. We've all learned a lot about those loans this year.
Right. Well, that took 4 months for me to get because I initially got turned down, and then I had to repeal the process. And every time they hit me back, so from the time I got turned down to I immediately repealed it the next day, it took a whole month for them to get back to me after I sent the information. And then they would ask for this information, and then I would send it in immediately. That would take a month. So it literally took 4 months for them to finally say, okay, you've been approved. So I just literally bought a bunch of new camera equipment because the camera equipment that I was using was okay, but it wasn't what I needed for today's standards of filming. So I bought that also with the intention of I'm going to try to start doing wedding videography as well.
Yeah, you were saying that in your email.
Yeah, man. I realized my sister-in-law, my brother's wife, she's a professional photographer in Atlanta, unfortunately, because I could probably work with her.
Right.
Had vice versa. But she was telling me after she saw my videos going, you have some really good natural skills at video editing.
Yeah, you do.
And thanks, man. And you should look into wedding videography. And this was about, 2 months ago when she told me this. And then after the SBA loan came through and I got all this new equipment, I'm like, you know what? Now I actually can do wedding videography. Because when I looked into it, I immediately said, I don't have the right camera equipment and nobody's going to pay me to come and film their videography, their wedding with my outdated equipment.
Right.
So yeah.
So tell me about the equipment reviews. What is that? Which ones have you done so far?
So I've done for Dixon, which is the company that I got an endorsement with last year. I did a review for this kit that they built me. And I've also done a review for a new bass drum pedal they came out with. That was the last review I did.
I think that I saw that one.
Yeah, and I was really happy with that one. As the more and more I do it, the more the more ideas I get, the better I get at editing. And they were really, really happy with that review. I've also done some reviews for Remo. I've done some reviews for. You would think I could remember all of this, but
well, let me ask you this: do those guys hire you to do that, or you do it on spec and send it to them and they get it, or do you get your revenue then from advertising on those?
So it's a good question. Also, Warm Audio. I did reviews for Warm Audio.
Cool.
Now, Warm Audio actually asked me to do reviews for them. The gentleman at the time, Royce Richmond, who was head of marketing, he quit about a month and a half ago, 2 months ago, unfortunately, which really sucks because he wanted me to actually head a new department for them that was going to be doing a bunch of video content, right? And he really liked how I was able to host my own show, if you want to call it that.
Yeah.
So I was looking forward to that. And he quit. So they cut ties with me as well because they're going in a different direction, apparently. But no, some of the reviews I did solely on my own because I'm building my channel.
Right.
And, Warm Audio sent me equipment to review. Dixon sent me equipment to review, not this drum kit, of course, but they sent me the pedal to review. And we're actually talking right now about sending them up. They're sending me other stuff to review. As far as advertising goes, I'm not big enough yet to get advertising. You have to have at least 1,000 subscribers. And I think it's 4,000 viewing hours. Now I have the viewing hours. I have more than enough. I've doubled the amount of viewing hours. I just don't have enough subscribers yet. So once that comes into play, then that's when the advertising can possibly come in. You know what I mean?
Okay. Yeah.
So, and the bottom line is I ain't getting paid for any of this yet. I'm literally building all of this.
Well, I remember you made some funny video. I was trying to remember it today. A few months ago. Yeah. That's what it was.
Yeah, that was years ago. That was years ago. That was like three years ago, I think, or something like that. Yeah. And if I had this all set up when that video came out, I would be in a completely different situation right now, man. I would be in a completely different situation because that would have helped me ramp up everything that I'm doing right now.
Right.
Because I had so many people focusing in on me and that one video.
Yeah. It's interesting.
Yeah, it is. It is. Timing is everything.
It really is. It really is. So how have you been throughout this whole quarantine?
Man, I've actually been pretty good. when the pandemic first hit, this is gonna sound really funny, but I was like, whatever. It's not gonna affect me. I mean, it's gonna affect my income, of course, but like I said, my wife and I, we were able to have a savings. We didn't freak out too much. And I literally just like, okay, I got plenty to do. That's one thing about the pandemic I noticed about artists and creative people was like, we have plenty to work on while we have this downtime. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it only reminded me of when I was in high school and would just go up to my room and draw and listen to Rush albums or go in the garage and play the drums. So I was fine. There was a moment, was a little panic once like the unemployment ran out.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, what's going on here, people? Some sleepless nights, some depression.
Yeah.
And it was about the future, you know what I mean?
And not just yours, like the future, period? Or
both, you know, both, but definitely my future is, what am I going to do? You know, like when this pandemic lifts, is there going to be a live music scene? Probably not right now. You know, so like we're all trying to figure out our next stepping stone as to how we're going to make money. So I'm having fun with video, and I'm going to try the wedding videography to supplement income, but I'm also going to keep pushing remote tracks and the YouTube channel, of course. And you know, I don't know. People have said, man, you can probably get hired like hosting something. I'm hearing that I'm really good in front of the camera.
You are
naturally.
Yeah, very naturally.
Oh, thanks, man. So stuff like that, I'm leaving that door open. You know, if I can be creative, do what I love, and get paid, great. You know, it's a plus. So, you know, but for the most part, during this whole pandemic, I've been pretty cool.
That's good.
Because I've had so much to do, and I've had a goal in mind that I think that's what really helped.
Yeah.
You know, having a lot to do, having a focus and an area to focus on, I think really does help people mentally.
Sure.
When there's uncertainty, you know what I mean?
I started realizing sort of my mental and psychological patterns revolved around how much I gave myself to do in a day, and the less I had to do, the more I turned on myself. So I started really trying to find as much as I could do to connect with people, you know? In that way.
I remember there was a point where I had stuff to do, but then something got discombobulated, and then I became overwhelmed. I started to panic as I knew time was running out.
Right.
Thinking, all right, what do I do next? What do I do next? And then there would be days, not many, where I would sit there and freak out, because if I get overwhelmed, I tend to shut down.
Right.
And I can't do anything. I just freeze. And in those days of freezing, I would feel absolutely miserable knowing that I need to be doing something, right?
Yeah.
And then I realized, dude, start putting a calendar together. And I would say, okay, I'm going to do these 3 to 4 things this day. And I would put it in my Google Calendar. And that really helped. That literally gave me, okay, we're going to tackle this. We're going to tackle this. We're going to tackle this. And that kind of put me back on track.
Yeah.
As to doing something and feeling productive.
Right.
I know for a fact, me personally, if I'm not being productive, my self-worth immediately goes down, man. It just,
yeah.
especially in a time like this when you feel like you need to be doing something.
Yeah.
Because no one else is going to come to your aid. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, not to take you out of that heavy mode, but tell me about Mendiesel. Is that the hat you're wearing?
Yeah, man. So in the process of all of this, I've also came up with my website, and the website is, of course, me and how you can contact me for remote lessons, but it's also where you can buy T-shirts, hats, and lessons. So I just started a page where I'm going to be selling downloadable video lessons, right? So it'll be an actual video with whatever lesson it may be, but then there's also downloadable PDFs that come with it of the sheet music. So basically what I'm doing is trying to build all these little I'm planting all these seeds that will hopefully grow into these huge oak trees.
Yeah.
And so the Mendiesel is 101 is my YouTube channel, right? Mendiesel 101 is what I call the show. And I have the merch to go along with it. And one of the things when growing up is I thought I wanted to be a graphic artist and an illustrator. So I have a really good background or in-depth background in design. So designing all those T-shirts were nothing for me, and I actually have fun designing.
Yeah.
And so I actually have a bunch of new batches coming out here soon. But I wanted to create, one of the things is I wanted to create T-shirts that were cool, that you would want to wear. Because, I mean, dude, you've been in the business just as long.
Yeah.
How about the fact that you get free swag all the time? Somebody will hand you a T-shirt at a venue or whatever,
Doing
right?
the podcast. I get a lot of free stuff. Yeah.
And the T-shirt is just like
terrible.
Yeah. I'll wear this to lounge around in the house,
right?
Sleeping or cut the grass. You know what I mean? It's like people have like this room. You know, people can't see this room. They're going to be listening to this podcast.
No,
but I knew immediately what this room was going to look like.
Right.
Do you know Trip Wiggins?
Of course.
Trip Wiggins and John Chipman helped me build this room out. And when I was telling John about the idea, he just looked at me like, huh? And I said, dude, it's going to work. And he goes, I don't know if that's going to work, bro. And I'm like, you got to have the vision in your head, man. So when I was finished, he didn't see the finish. He only helped me with building out that back wall.
Uh-huh.
And Trip helped me with the back wall and the flooring.
Okay. And
then I built all the baffling, all the sound baffles you see.
Yeah.
I built those all out, installed them, painted the room, the lighting and all that. And when John finally saw it, he said, wow, this is amazing. Like this came out way better than I thought it would.
Right.
Bottom line is you have to envision. You have to have a vision, man, when it comes to all of this. You know, it's like I had a vision and immediately knew how it was going to come out, you know?
Yeah.
Same with the designs and the T-shirts. You just can't have a T-shirt and then go blah, 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 Austin, Texas. And the T-shirt's black and you got this white print, you know?
Right.
Nobody's going to wear it. They'll take it from you.
No. I was looking at the clothes. They're all cool and the hat's cool.
Yeah. You know, it's like, you know, you have to have something that's more fashionable than anything. Right.
Yeah.
So I'm going to keep coming out with more fashionable stuff. And as a matter of fact, I actually bought the domain name for another one where I'm going to start making T-shirts that have nothing to do with drums or anything. It's just going to be fashionable T-shirts, right?
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Can you say what the domain name is? Or no?
Oh, yeah, because I bought it, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But it's what is it?
I don't know.
You caught me off guard, Johnny.
Sorry, buddy.
Mendieselwear.com. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's Mendieselwear.com.
All right.
And I just bought another domain name for the wedding videography. But yeah, man. So that to answer your question, the Mendiesel is my website that promotes both remote drum tracks to let you know my rates, how to get in contact with me, how it works, but also T-shirts, swag, and buying lessons. Yeah. And that was one of the reasons why I got the SBA loan, because I sent them that link saying, "Hey, look, I'm a business." You know?
Right. Yeah, I'm trying to get this stuff done.
Yes.
Dude, I think that's
Give me
all
the money.
incredible.
Show me the money.
Yeah. Show me that money. So let me ask you a question, man. How has this summer since Memorial Day weekend and the murder of George Floyd, like, how did that resonate with you? And I have a lot of questions about that too, because there was what seemed like a great awakening, and there were protests daily for a long time, and it seemed like things were really changing, and then now we're on to maybe another thing again. Yeah.
Well, and you know, I'm glad you said that, because when people started hitting me up, I had a natural defense mechanism that was kind of ice cold about it. Look, it's obvious I'm black. And I've been, of course, paying attention to this stuff since I can remember. I've always been very political. I started listening to conscious political music at an early age, and was well aware of what was happening here in the States. And one of the things, it was Chipman, actually. We had this conversation. John Chipman, where we were talking about this murder, and I said, man, what's going to happen is people are going to get they're going to get all up in a huff. And then as time goes on, it dies, it goes away. And then there'll be something else that happens that gets people all up in arms. It's a cycle that always happens. And I said, until this cycle of being up in arms and then letting it die off, it'll always happen. This will continue to happen. And we still do see these murders, and let's be frank about it, they're murders. They're not accidental killings. They're murders, because you can see so many other examples where somebody of a lighter persuasion gets to live during the same dispute or the same type of escalated situation. And we can see them actually make threats to police officers, come at the police officers, and the police officers give them multiple chances. Warnings.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So I'm not going to be shy about it, or I'm not going to apologize for any of it. It's murder. It's straight up murder. And I will say this, because of all the George Floyd and everything that's happened since then, my attitude has changed such where I have no toleration anymore for anybody that makes an excuse for any of this. The climate, my personal feelings about all of this has pretty much been the same when you ask me about George Floyd and what I think about how people get up in arms and then it dies. Black people expect that, actually, man. We all expect that. We expect, oh yeah, they're going to get mad and then it's going to die and then you forget about us. We already know this. So this is not a big deal. What I think is changing now are people are starting to not tolerate things anymore, man. It's like,
yeah.
Prime example is anybody that spouts that, blue lives or all lives. You're not my friend.
Right.
I don't want to be around you, and I delete you. Yeah. If you're, especially on Facebook, if you're somebody on Facebook saying this, I just delete you. And before anybody hears this and says, "Oh, well, that's the tolerant left," I'm gonna say, "I'm sorry, I gotta say this, Johnny, but go fuck yourself." Yeah. Because there's no tolerating murder. There's no tolerating injustice of you get to put your shitty thought process on people's lives, and that's a debate we should be having. There is no debate. There is no debate that you should let me live And because I disagreed with you or didn't immediately comply with you, that's a death sentence. There is no reason for me to be shot or any other person to be shot because you do not comply with the police. They're not the judge and jury. They're fucking police.
Yeah.
You know, it's served for another day and another time to make that decision or not what the punishment should be. But the punishment definitely isn't death right then and there.
No.
And we can't even figure it out, fight it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, so like anybody that's a bootlicker, I have no time for. I've also noticed in this time, I got no time for Trump supporters. You're standing on a side of life that is inexcusable. It's one thing to have political differences. It's one thing to have political viewpoints. It's another thing to have this morally bankrupt pile of pig puke in office and these followers take and accept everything that comes out of his mouth, which is a blatant fucking lie. You know, like, and there are people that have family members that are Trump supporters and people that have friends of Trump supporters. And you get the big middle finger. I got no time for any of it. You're not important enough to be in my life at this point. And I know that I'm pissing off a lot of people by saying this, but I don't give a flying fuck right now. You know, like we're literally watching this pile of pig puke trying to steal the election and without any evidence they're presenting, and they're just blatantly saying all this crap. And then the supporters are all going with it. It's like there's a big mental issue right now. You know, I've been saying this. This is a sidetrack. I've been saying this for 30 something years, Johnny, where the military budget needs to be cut by a drastic amount of money. And that money needs to be circumvented and funneled right back into public education, right? Because Trump is living proof how stupid America is. Trump is living proof how our education system has literally just gone into the shitter.
Yeah. And
people are so dumb that they'll just believe any conspiracy theory, just face value, right? People are so dumb that they will accept what he says, even though we catch him lying daily. This motherfucker will say something, and then you'll call him on it, and he goes, "I never said that." And then the followers go, "He never said that."
Yeah.
Bitch, I got you on video. You said it. You said it literally a day ago.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry.
No. It's all right, man. People get it's infuriating to be lied to like that, and then there's no way to explain it to anyone except for someone that feels like we do about this same thing. And fortunately for us, there's a few more of us that feel this way than don't. Thank God.
Dude, and the fact that this election turned out more for him this time, not less. So, you know, like, as far as I'm concerned, dude, I swear, I'm not a religious man. I don't believe in God, but I swear on whatever's most important to me in my life. If I won the lottery tonight or whatever, just figuratively speaking, if I won the lottery, I'd fucking leave this country in a heartbeat, dude, because I'm just done. There's 70 fucking million people that voted for that fuck. Literally, they voted for him, and knowing the last 4 years have been just a shit show, and they went ahead and voted for him again and gained followers.
Yeah,
America needs free education. They need free college. And it should be mandatory that you go to fucking college.
Yeah.
They should be pumping billions and billions into public education.
Yeah.
Fuck the military. Education.
Yeah.
Because when you got idiocracy as an entire nation, it doesn't matter.
It's proven that when you have an educated populace, you have less crime.
Yes.
You have less everything that's terrible and more stuff that's
Yes.
good.
You know, it's like I always try to tell people, you know, if you pumped more money into education, this crime you're talking about, you know, like where it's inherent with the black community, which is a whole nother topic of conversation. It's like, no, dude, it's not inherent in black community. It's inherent in poor communities.
Yeah.
So the minute you are poor and the minute you have desperate areas, you will have crime. Because what else are they going to do? I mean, I don't give a fuck what you say. You know, morals go out the door when you're trying to feed yourself or trying to survive.
Yeah.
Desperate people do desperate fucking things, man. You know, so like this whole talk, when anybody ever says black on black crime, I need you to do a favor. I need everybody that's listening, who does listen to this. The minute somebody says, well, what about black on black crime? You say there's no such thing, because there isn't a such thing as black on black crime. It's a talking point that was made to negate the atrocities of what is happening and make it seem like, well, if black people don't care about themselves,
Right.
then we really can't move any further,
Right.
which is bullshit, because the bottom line is crime is by proximity.
Right.
So no black person or a group of black people or a whole entire 8 city blocks or whatever are going to leave their fucking neighborhood to go commit crime in the white neighborhoods or the Mexican neighborhoods. They're going to commit crime where they're fucking at, man. So, and it's like, and if somebody says, you know, what about black on black crime? You say, what? There is no such thing. What about white on white crime? How come we don't hear about that?
You don't
How come
say
we
that.
don't hear about,
Yeah.
nobody says white on white crime, even though most crimes that are committed
Or white on white.
are white on white when
Yeah.
it comes to white people. And most crimes when it comes to Mexicans, if they're in that area, is as Mexicans and so forth, right? Chinese, whatever it fucking may be. The bottom line is it's by proximity, right? It's not because they're inherently criminals, you know.
Right.
And if you think that anyway, you're a racist bigot anyway, so you can go fuck yourself, you know. Like you don't want to hear it anyway. You just want to believe in your Trumpisms and whatever else you have in your head about any other minority, you know.
Yeah.
So
I've lost some family members throughout this year that have they haven't died. I've died to them because of my beliefs and because of that stuff, you know.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Well,
man.
no, you know,
I'm
it's
sorry
all
to hear
right.
that.
The one thing is, like,
Hey.
you say, like, you know what? Did I need that in my life? If that's the kind of person that refuse to talk to me because they find me to be a leftist radical that's trying to ruin their way of life, it's kind of ridiculous.
And the funny thing about all of that is, so I don't consider myself a Democrat. I've always considered myself an independent. I registered as a Democrat because I wanted to vote in the primaries, right?
Yeah.
You know, and which people need to realize, the general election is one thing.
The primaries.
People, you got to get involved in politics. Quit being political one time in the year.
Right.
You have to pay attention.
One time
you
in
know.
the 4 years, really.
Exactly, man. You know, it's like, pay attention to the midterms.
Yeah.
Those are just as important as the general election. Those are just important. The primaries, I feel, are more important than the general election. Pay attention. Pay attention to what's happening locally and vote. Damn it. You know, because more than anything, local politics affect you more than national politics on certain things, right? Certain things. But, you know, what I was going to say was, I get a kick out of it when the right, and I said I was independent, so I really don't. I can be very conservative on certain issues. I can be very liberal on certain issues. That's why I say this. I think it doesn't do me any good to label myself as a left or a right, because you have to meet up in the middle sometimes,
right,
to have balance. And one of the things I get a kick out of is when the right says, you know, you're infringing on my rights, which is they love to say.
Right. Right.
And the funny thing I always like to say, or when I think is, wait a minute, what right is being infringed upon right now? You know, like when you talk about mask, which is the dumbest fucking thing.
Yeah, yeah.
You mouth breathing imbeciles. It's like, I need to stop insulting because that doesn't help either. But how does you, like, I don't see you getting pissed. They told you, hey, man, you got to wear a T-shirt when you come up in here. You have to wear shoes. I don't
Right.
see you yelling, you're infringing on my rights.
Right, right.
You know what I mean? It's complete bullshit. And then they say, well, you're infringing on my rights when it comes to religious freedom. No, we're not. You can go pray to God. You can go to church.
Yeah.
Well, I want to discriminate against this gay person. No, you can't do that.
Yeah.
That's not your right.
Right.
You're now infringing upon their lifestyle and right. You don't get, just because you believe in God or you say God says this, you don't get to say, well, you have to live by the way I think.
Right.
And that's not infringing upon your right. It makes no sense.
No, those arguments all just don't make sense, and they're just, yeah. I had an uncle I was talking to today, and he kind of flipped out on me, and then went into this whole thing of like years worth of resentment towards me about how condescending I go. Oh, really? And there was apparently something I do like that's really terrible. But that's like when I don't want to argue and someone says something crazy like that, and you know, no, this guy stole the election. There's tons of stolen ballots, and you go like, oh, really? And I can see how it comes off a little condescending, but it is just a question. Anyway, dude. But let me ask you this, because there were a lot of things that happened like within our community, and there was a lot of like, hey, man, you know, this isn't. I'll give you an example. My brother came to visit me a couple of years ago, and we went out and did like all the places. We went to like Waro's for dinner, Continental Club, Sea Boys, Hotel Vegas, and on the way back, he lives in Miami, and we're on our way back, and he says to me like, do you know any black people? Like, this is supposed to be some liberal city, and literally, it was all white people everywhere I went tonight. And I was like, no, you know, it seems like that. And I've talked to a lot of dudes that are like, yeah, it's usually me and this other guy, or me and Kalu, or something like that.
Austin's always been like that, though.
Always been like that. But do you feel like with all this stuff that happened, like with Jackie Venson standing up basically to the system and seeing things change and seeing, do you feel like there was some movement on that level?
That at that point in time, there seemed to be some movement, whether it continues, whether it expands, because I noticed during that whole deal, they started announcing bands I never even heard of. You know, and I don't know who picked them and whatever, but it's like, don't make it a clique now.
Right.
If you're going to open the doors. Right? Because I know plenty of other acts that weren't even mentioned, and they were giving these people a platform on Blues on the Green.
Right.
You know, it's like, I think that should be reserved for people that, of course, yeah, if you're talented, great. But let the people that have been waiting in line get a taste. You know what I mean? I will say I'm afraid that in certain things, even with this, you may see something that may be politicized, or not politicized, but part of the part of the clique, part of the club. And it was a great moment. I'm glad Blues on the Green heard her, and I'm glad she spoke up. Hell yeah.
Well, you know. It wouldn't have happened if she wasn't already in the club.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think there needs to be an expansion. There needs to be, there needs to be, of course, more involvement. There needs to be reaching out. There needs to be some healing as well, man, because you got to think about also how certain areas of town have benefited from Black culture.
Yeah.
while literally pushing them out of the way. You
Right.
know, so it's like
Right.
you go to East Austin, you go to Clarksville. It's now predominantly white.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and expensive as hell.
Yeah.
You know, I grew up in North Austin, and then I moved down south. And in my entire time of living in Austin, I've always had an Austin address. And we had to buy outside of Austin, you know, because we literally could not afford to buy a home. We could have bought a home in Austin, but it would have been much smaller.
Yeah.
It would have needed a lot of work.
Right.
And, you know, I'm 47 going on 48 years old, man. I don't feel like buying a project home right now.
Right.
And I don't mean projects like I'm living in the projects. I mean, where I
No,
got to
we have
put
to
all the
fix
stuff.
plumbing and shit, not just make a cool looking room so you can have cool ass drum videos, but like you have to fix plumbing and electricity and roofs and shit like that. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, so my wife and I, when we first got, you know, looking at our options, we were looking at some places outside of Austin, like in Manor and all that, you know, living way out there. And then we dealt with a company that specialized, mortgage company that specialized with contractors, people that were self-employed. And that really opened the door because the traditional mortgage companies were giving us a hard time, didn't want to touch us, and gave us less buying power. We actually got more buying power when we went to this company,
Right.
like $50,000 more, right?
Yeah.
And we bought a house right out here in Pflugerville, right at the tip of, I live right at the corner of the 45 and 130.
Nice.
And what I was getting at was there are a lot of black people out here.
Yeah.
A lot of them got pushed from East Austin. Before the pandemic hit, I was going to the gym that I live right down the street from. And I'd go in the sauna every day, and there was just, you know, 10, 15 black people inside. When I would go to the gym in Austin, when I lived in Austin, I would see a black person in there like every 4 or 5 days, maybe.
Yeah.
But before the pandemic and being there, plenty of black people. They're all over here, you know, and they're in Hutto.
Yeah.
A lot of them live in Round Rock now. But you know, yeah, there's never been a lot of black people here, man. You know, my brother lives in Atlanta. He refuses to leave.
Yeah. Maybe that's what Trump meant by they're coming for your suburbs. I'm just joking.
Right? Well, you know, dude, it's like, really, bro? Really? I mean, man, fuck Trump.
Yeah.
Fuck him.
You know what? He's done. But you know what isn't done? You got clothes
Prohibition.
you're making. You got videos you're making. You got more music to be making. You got lessons to be given. That's one thing is as we've gotten older, you know, back in like the 90s or whatever, you were in a band playing drums. I was in a band playing guitar and singing. And now there's like more side hustles that you can find. I have a fucking talk show. I play in a fucking cover band. I work with Austin Music Foundation.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, man. You know, I'm actually looking forward. I'm not gonna lie, like I'm looking forward to this transition because, like I said, literally last September, I said to myself, I don't want to rely on live music anymore as my sole means of income. I want to be at the house more with my wife. I want to make more money here at the house. And that's when I decided I'm going to start YouTubing, right? And if I can make money doing wedding videos,
Right.
That's great.
Right.
If I can make money recording at the here at the house, that's great. So we shall see. There's going to be other things that will come up. I'm not opposed to anything right now. You know what I mean? It maybe not being in a cubicle. Like, no offense to anybody that's in a cubicle,
Yeah.
man.
Some guys.
After being
not in a cubicle.
self-employed,
Yeah.
after being self-employed for, you know, my entire adult life, man, it's really fucking hard to be in a cubicle, man. You know,
Yeah.
I've actually done that a couple times in between where, it's like, I had to like, oh man, I need money really bad. I don't know when my next gig is. And then I work for like a month or two and then boom. And just being absolutely miserable in that cubicle because I'm just not built for that.
Right.
But I can host your TV show.
Yeah.
KView, CNN, what's up, baby?
Got to call Brian Christopher Mendes. So, man, people can find you at brianchristophermendes.com, and pretty soon Mendiesel.com will be up.
Mendiesel.com will be up, but there is brianchristophermendes.com.
And
you can find me at Brian. And Mendes is spelled with an S, not with a Z, people.
Not with a Z.
And
Mendiesel 101 is the YouTube.
You can find me on YouTube. You can find me on Instagram. I highly recommend you go to YouTube and check out my videos because one of the things a lot of people dig about them is they're informative. I go really deep into whatever I'm talking about. I also give videos advice. I'm getting ready to release another video here soon. I'm waiting on some lighting to show up. Man, it's another thing about the pandemic is shipping. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's I'm literally waiting on some new lighting to show up. But I got some badass cameras, man, and I'm really looking forward to shooting these new videos. But I got a whole new piece coming out on understanding your dreams and aspirations. Like when you're a kid, whoever it may have been, your favorite guitarist or singer at first, you wanted to be that person, right?
Right.
And whatever it may be, you have to go through these growing pains of you buy a drum set and you want to be Neil Peart, or I keep saying Neil Peart. He wasn't my favorite, or John Bonham, or it could be anybody. And you set up just like this person, and then you realize this setup doesn't really fit me.
Right.
So this whole video I'm coming out with is about understanding your own personality and your own body type, and don't necessarily set up like your favorite drummer or buy the drums that your favorite drummer played because he makes those sound good. You may not, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
The bottom line, how you touch, how you hit, you may be a harder hitter or you may be a lighter hitter, whatever it may be, find out what your identity is and what gear suits you best, and not setting up and buying the gear that just because your favorite player plays it.
Excellent, man. That's good advice.
Yeah.
People can find
I wish
that.
I had known that when I first bought.
Yeah, no shit. People can find that at Mendiesel 101 on YouTube. That's your YouTube channel. They can find you at brianchristophermendes.com. That's Mendes with an S. I'll put all the links to everything in the text of the podcast.
You can
YouTube
and you can find me on YouTube as well. Just Brian Christopher Mendes. You can type that in.
All right.
Yeah, man. And subscribe. Check out my videos and subscribe. I got other videos in there that don't even have to do with drums. Just funny skit videos.
Yeah.
So,
well, man, it's good to see your face.
Likewise, Brian.
Yeah.
Likewise, man. And I'm glad you allow me to come back on and talk about this and spew a little frustration. Get rid of the frustration.
I don't mind it, man. It's good to hear. Dude, it's real shit. People are going through real shit right now, and it's good to know that you're able to go through the shit and still come out of it and find new stuff you can be doing. So you're being a human being.
Man, and let me say this, and I'll let you part. I know you got to go. Most importantly, man, out of all of this, man, is to try to keep a really good attitude. I during the whole pandemic, I kept a great attitude about the whole situation just because there's nothing you can do about it. A, it's out of your hands. And B, if you sulk and worry and get depressed, you're not helping your situation at all. You're not helping yourself. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, we're in really crappy times, but having a crappy attitude about it ain't going to help either.
Yeah.
So, what helped me get through a lot of the pandemic and out of a funk, I was like in a funk for like a week. I allowed myself to have it, whatever, is being able to say, I got shit to do. I got plenty to be happy about. because I ain't living on the street. I got my health. I have my beautiful wife. We have each other. There's plenty to be thankful for at any given point. You just got to find it, man. You got to find it. Wipe the dust off that diamond and find it underneath. You know what I mean? It's like,
yeah.
You're doing yourself a favor, and you're doing yourself, people that are around you, a favor too.
Yeah. Well, dude, it's been good catching up with you. It's good to see you. I love your room too, by the way.
Thank you, man.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
It's about to look even better when I get these
New
lights in.
Yeah. Well, Meg,
I'll definitely tag you when I get the new video out.
please do, and I'll send you a link to this when it'll be a few weeks before it comes out. But man, it's been great talking to you.
Likewise,
Love
brother.
you, buddy.
Love you
Stay
too,
strong.
man. I will. You do the same.
Bye, pal. Brian Christopher Mendes. You can find him at brianchristophermendes.com. You can also find him on YouTube at Mendiesel 101. I'll put links to all of that in the text of this podcast. Great catching up with Brian, man. I love that guy. What a great musician. What a great mind, too, you know? We didn't even talk about all the colossal cable stuff and all the stuff we talked about in the first episode. You know, there was another episode. I'll put a link to that in the text of this podcast, just in case you can't get enough of Brian Christopher Mendes. Find him at brianchristophermendes.com. Follow his YouTube channel. Go subscribe to it. Comment on it. Check out his things, his downloadable lessons on his website and everything. Mendiesel 101 at youtube.com. Okay? Also, his Mendiesel Mendiesel.wear.com. Great clothes, great hats. I want one of those hats. I need one of those hats. Hey, gang, when you're out there checking out BrianChristopherMendes.com, don't forget that you can subscribe to this podcast wherever it is that you find podcasts, be it Spotify, TuneIn, Overcast, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher. New shows all the time, at least every Tuesday and every Friday. Even while I'm out there at the beach right now, having a good time, I'm still putting out shows, even though I'm not doing the combos. I hope that you have a great day, whatever it is you're doing. I'm thinking about you. And let's get down.